Jake, after 17 years, we are removing your position, my boss said in a flat tone. Clean out your desk by the end of the day. My name is Jake Wilson, 54 years old, and until that Monday morning, I was a senior systems analyst at Meridian Technologies in Columbus, Ohio. For almost 2 decades, I had been the backbone of the IT department. From the dial-up days to cloud migration, 3 CEOs had come and gone while I stayed in my place, training every new hire, recovering every lost file, working through weekends and holidays without asking for a promotion or even a pat on the back. So when Daniel called me into his office with Vanessa from HR already sitting there, I knew even before he spoke. The atmosphere had changed weeks earlier. I understand completely, I said, nodding once. I walked out without saying another word. No anger, no begging, just quiet acceptance. Back at my desk, I saw younger employees looking toward me, then quickly lowering their eyes to their screens. News spreads quickly. Most of them were coders I had trained myself, good kids, but they had no idea what was actually built into our systems or how the older architecture worked. None of them could handle the custom software I had written or the admin credentials hidden 3 layers deep in every system. I started packing my personal things carefully. A family photo, the coffee mug my son made in high school, the small cactus that somehow survived 17 years under fluorescent lights. Bethany from marketing stopped by, her face full of concern. Jake, I just heard. This is ridiculous. You basically built this place. I shrugged. Companies change direction. But without any warning, after everything you have done. Her voice was getting louder, drawing attention. It is fine, I said quietly. Really? It was not fine, but I was not going to create a scene. As I was leaving, Daniel stepped out of his office to watch me go. No goodbye, no handshake, just watching to make sure I actually left. What none of them had paid attention to over the years was that I had become the most important person in the entire building, not because I was extraordinary, but because I was careful and thorough. I documented everything and set up secure audit protocols years earlier to track unauthorized access at the request of the legal team during a past scandal. I also kept copies. In my car, I sat for a moment, looking back at the 12-story building where I had spent most of my adult life. The security badge I had just returned had been renewed 16 times. I started the engine and drove home. They had no idea Wednesday would be interesting. I had been with Meridian since it was only 2 floors in a business park. I started when my daughter Olivia was in kindergarten. Now she was finishing graduate school. The company grew and I grew with it. I turned down offers from competitors because loyalty mattered to me. My wife Andrea used a joke that the servers were my second family. She was not completely wrong. I knew every system, every workaround, every backdoor solution, the problems executives did not even know existed. The infrastructure I had built had survived 3 acquisitions and many innovations that management accepted and then abandoned months later. Daniel became my boss 5 years ago, a young MBA type who called our department IT resources instead of people. He had ideas about streamlining, efficiency, digital transformation, buzzwords that usually meant doing more work with fewer people. At first, I tried to help him understand our systems, the complexity hidden under years of growth and changes. We need to future-proof, he would say in meetings, looking right past me. 6 months ago, he brought in a consultant named Jason Phillips. Expensive suit, firm handshake, and a Stanford degree shown clearly on his LinkedIn profile. They would gather in conference rooms, speaking quietly whenever I walked past. 3 months ago, I noticed my access permissions being slowly changed. Nothing obvious, just small adjustments to administrative controls. I could have protested, but instead I watched and documented everything. You seem distracted lately, Andrea said one night while we sat on the porch. Is everything okay at work? I nodded while sipping my beer. Just changes, nothing I have not seen before. But these changes felt different. I was being pushed aside in meetings. Emails about system upgrades stopped including me. Younger team members were assigned to projects I would normally handle. Then I discovered it. A company-wide memo about modernization initiatives that had never been shared with me. It explained a complete restructuring of the IT department under new leadership Jason Phillips. My position was not even listed on the organizational chart. That same day, I found something else. While running a routine security scan, one of those background tasks no one else bothered doing anymore, I noticed unusual patterns in our financial software. Regular transfers to a vendor I did not recognize, Apex Solutions Group. A quick search showed it was registered only last year with a business address that led to a UPS store. The approved payments had started small, but were increasing each month. I did not say anything. I just noted it, copied the records, and continued watching. Sometimes the quiet person in the corner sees everything exactly because everyone believes he sees nothing. The morning after I was let go, I sat in my home office looking at my personal laptop. No alarm had woken me. No commute was waiting, just silence and the weight of what had happened. Andrea brought me coffee, placing it beside me without saying a word. After 19 years of marriage, she knew when I needed space. "I am going to the store," she said later. "Do you need anything?" I shook my head. After she left, I unlocked the bottom drawer of my desk and pulled out a flash drive, one of several I kept safe. Company policies clearly prohibited removing data, but years ago, when the legal team needed an audit system for tracking possible insider threats, I had been clear about needing off-site backups. They had approved it and then quickly forgotten. I plugged it in and started reviewing the files, internal emails, meeting notes I should not have had access to, financial records that normal employees would never see. There was a full history of payments to Apex Solutions Group. Almost $8 million over 18 months. The approval chain led directly to our CFO, Brian Wilcox. I dug deeper, comparing dates and numbers until the pattern became clear. The payments matched perfectly with a series of software license renewals for systems we use across the company, but the amounts were increased, sometimes by 15%, sometimes by 20%, small enough not to raise quick suspicion, but large enough to add up. I opened the business registration for Apex Solutions Group. The listed owner was Thomas Wilcox. A quick social media search confirmed what I suspected. Brian's brother-in-law. They were taking company funds through fake markups on real expenses. I leaned back in my chair, feeling something change inside me. Not exactly anger, something colder and more focused. For 17 years, I had solved problems, fixed systems, and protected data. I had been the dependable one, the steady presence who never caused trouble, and they threw me away like outdated hardware. My phone buzzed with a message from Steven, a junior analyst I had mentored over the past 2 years. "Sorry about yesterday. Total nonsense what they did. Phillips is already moving into your old office." I placed the phone down without replying. The pieces finally made sense. Daniel and the CFO needed me gone before anyone could connect the dots in their plan. They probably believed the evidence would disappear with me, that I was just some older tech employee who did not understand modern finance. I opened my email and began writing a message to the board of directors. Then I stopped, my finger hovering over the send button. Too direct, too easy to dismiss as the bitter claims of a fired employee. I needed leverage, precision, a way to reveal the fraud that could not be ignored or hidden. I deleted the draft and started making plans. Tomorrow was Wednesday, the day of the board meeting. Quarterly financial reports would be presented. Bonuses would be approved. Perfect timing. I closed the laptop and walked to the living room window, looking out at the neighborhood where we had raised our children and built our life. For the first time since yesterday, I smiled. Wednesday morning, I sat in my car across the street from Meridian headquarters, watching employees walk through the revolving doors. In the passenger seat was my laptop, logged into an email account I had created years earlier for security testing, one that looked like it came from an internal company domain but was not tracked in the main directory. At exactly 9:15 a.m., I made my first move. I sent an email to Daniel with the subject line, "Financial irregularities, urgent review needed," and a simple summary of what I had found regarding the Apex payments. I included just enough information to be believable, but kept the brother-in-law connection out of it. If Daniel was involved, he would panic. If he was not, he would investigate. Either way, I would learn something. By 9:45, my phone rang. Daniel's number. I let it go to voicemail. His message was tense. Jake, we need to discuss your email immediately. Call me back. I did not. Instead, I drove to a coffee shop, opened my laptop, and waited. At 10:30, another email arrived. This one from Vanessa in HR. Mr. Wilson, we have received concerning communication from you that may violate your separation agreement. Please stop all contact with Meridian employees and remember your confidentiality obligations. Any further communication may result in legal action. So that was their strategy. Threaten, dismiss, isolate. I had not signed any separation agreement. At noon, I drove to my bank and opened my safe deposit box. Inside was another backup, older but containing important information I had not kept on my regular drives. Among the files were original security protocols I had designed, including documentation showing who had access to which systems and when changes were made. According to these records, Brian Wilcox had personally requested expanded access to the financial approval systems 18 months earlier, exactly when the Apex payments began. Back at home, I found 3 more missed calls. Daniel, Vanessa, and now Jason Phillips. I had not expected him to get involved so quickly. Interesting. I checked my personal email and found a message from Stephen marked urgent. Jake, they are saying you sent some strange email about financial fraud. Phillips called an emergency meeting. Everyone is talking. They are removing your access to everything, even historical records. We are trying to do our jobs. What is happening? Poor kid. Caught in the middle. I sent a short reply. Do not get involved. Stephen, just watch. At 3 p.m. My home phone rang, a number I had not used for business in years. I answered but said nothing. Jake, this is Brian Wilcox. His voice was calm and controlled. We should talk about your concerns. I think there has been a misunderstanding. Is that what you call it? I asked. Look, transition periods are always difficult. If you have questions about company finances, there are proper channels like the board. I interrupted. Silence followed. The board does not need to be bothered with operational details. Why do we not meet tomorrow? Just you and me. We can clear this up. Sorry, I am busy tomorrow, I said. Besides, I think the board might be very interested in Apex Solutions Group and your brother-in-law. The sharp intake of breath told me everything. You are making a serious mistake. He said, finally, we can fix this. A generous severance, references, whatever you need. Goodbye, Brian, I said, and hung up. Within 10 minutes, Vanessa emailed again. Suddenly, my severance package had doubled, with an attached agreement requiring complete confidentiality about all company matters. They were panicking now, but they still thought they were dealing with a simple attempt at extortion. They had no idea what was coming next. Thursday morning brought clarity and confirmation. I had spent the night reviewing years of data, connecting details I had previously missed. The Apex scheme was not Brian's first creative accounting project. 3 years earlier, shortly after he became CFO, another pattern appeared. Consulting fees paid to a firm called Lakeside Business Solutions. Different name, same strategy. Increased invoices for services partly or never delivered. I traced the registration for Lakeside. This one led to Patricia Wilcox, Brian's wife. She was apparently the CEO of a company that had no website, no employees, and only a virtual office address. But the bigger discovery came when I searched email archives. Daniel had not only known about these arrangements, he had helped arrange them. In return, his department received budget increases while others faced cuts. He had been hired specifically because the previous director had started asking questions about IT spending. Even Jason Phillips was connected. His consulting firm had been hired through an unusual process that avoided normal procurement rules. His real role was not modernizing IT. It was removing the one person who might notice the financial patterns. Me. The scheme was simple but effective. Create vendors that look legitimate, approve inflated payments, and share the difference. Because real services were still being provided, just at higher prices, auditors searching for completely fake charges would miss it. Over 3 years, they diverted nearly $3 million. I gathered everything into a detailed report. Spreadsheets showing the pattern of increases, business registrations linking the companies to Brian's family, email exchanges proving Daniel's knowledge and involvement. Then I did something they would not expect. I contacted Robert Chen, a board member I had worked with years earlier during a security project. He was semi-retired now, but still attended quarterly meetings. Jake Wilson, he said when he answered on the second ring. Long time. I heard you left Meridian. Not by choice, I replied. Robert, I need 15 minutes of your time. It is important. Silence followed. Is this about why Brian and Daniel have been meeting together looking stressed? Yesterday's board meeting was tense. Probably, I said. He laughed softly. I always thought you knew where the problems were hidden. Where can we meet? 1 hour later, we sat in a park 3 miles from headquarters. I handed him a sealed envelope containing a printed summary and a flash drive. That is everything, I said. Dates, amounts, connections. I am not looking to get my job back. I am not asking for money. I just want the right people to know the truth. Robert studied me carefully. Why come to me? Because you actually read audit reports. I have watched you in meetings. You ask real questions. He nodded slowly. There is an emergency board session tomorrow, a finance committee review. Convenient timing, Jake, he said while putting the envelope in his pocket. If this is accurate, there will be serious consequences. I am counting on that, I said. As I walked back to my car, my phone buzzed with a message from Andrea. Someone named Jason Phillips came to the house looking for you. He said it was urgent. I told him you were not home. They were becoming desperate. Good. That afternoon, I received job offers from 2 competing companies, both offering positions higher than my previous role, and both including large signing bonuses. Word had spread about my sudden availability. I ignored them for now. This was not about finding another job. It was about finishing what they had started. That night, using credentials that should have been disabled but were not, a careless IT transition by Jason, I accessed the company email server one final time and scheduled a message to be delivered to every board member at 8 a.m. the next morning. Before you approve Q2 bonuses, read this. Attached was my complete report. Friday morning arrived clear and bright. I sat on my porch drinking coffee, watching the neighborhood wake up. No alarm clock, no commute, just waiting. At exactly 8 a.m., my scheduled email delivered its message to the board members. By 8:17, my phone started ringing. Numbers I did not recognize, probably assistants of board members trying to reach me. I let every call go to voicemail. At 9 a.m., the Emergency Finance Committee meeting would start. Robert Chen would be there with my documents, watching reactions as my email was opened and discussed. At 9:32, Stephen sent a message. Police are here. Wilcox and Daniel are being questioned in conference rooms. Phillips looked sick. What did you do? I did not reply. Everything was moving exactly as I expected. By 10 a.m., Meridian's general counsel called. Unlike the others, I answered this call. Mr. Wilson, this is Patricia Graves from Legal. We need you to come in immediately to discuss the information you have provided to the board. I am available by phone, I replied. This requires an in-person discussion. No, it does not, I said calmly. Everything I know is in that report. Everything I have is already backed up in several secure locations. If anything happens to me or my family, additional copies will be sent to the SEC, IRS, and 3 news organizations. Silence followed. Mr. Wilson. She finally said carefully, the board is taking this very seriously. They have already placed several executives on administrative leave while the investigation continues. They would appreciate your cooperation. I have already cooperated by providing full documentation. My role is finished. After she ended the call, I drove to a diner 20 minutes outside Columbus. It was better not to be easily found that day. While eating lunch, news began appearing on local business websites. Meridian Technologies executives under investigation for financial irregularities. No names yet, but that would change soon. At 2 p.m., Robert Chen called. It is chaos. He said immediately, Brian, confess once we showed him your evidence. Try and make a deal and blaming Daniel for pressuring him. Daniel is denying everything. And Phillips claims he was only a consultant who knew nothing about financial matters. The board does not believe him. We have suspended all three while the investigation continues. Forensic accountants are arriving Monday. Early estimates suggest at least 4. $5 million diverted over 3 years, maybe more. I nodded quietly. I had been close. The board wants to speak with you, Robert continued, about returning, not just to your old job. They are creating a new chief security officer role that reports directly to the board. I had considered this possibility, but was still surprised. I will think about it, I said. That evening, I told Andrea everything. She listened without interrupting, then asked, "What do you want to do?" That was a good question. The revenge part was finished. The people who forced me out were now being removed themselves and likely facing criminal charges. Justice had been delivered cold and precise. But returning to Meridian meant going back to the place that had thrown me away after 17 years of service. Could I do that? Did I want to? I need time to decide. I said finally, later that night. I opened my laptop one last time and posted a single message on my otherwise inactive LinkedIn profile. Never burn bridges. Just let them collapse under the weight of their own greed. Within minutes, former colleagues began contacting me. The story was spreading. The Quiet Systems analyst had brought down 3 executives without raising his voice. By Monday, everyone would know exactly who they had underestimated. Monday morning, I walked into Meridian headquarters wearing a suit I had not needed in years. The security guard looked surprised, then quickly printed a visitor badge. "Welcome back, Mr. Wilson," he said with new respect. The elevator ride to the executive floor was quiet. I had never needed to visit that level before. Now I was expected in the boardroom. 10 board members sat around a polished table. Robertson nodded slightly when I entered. The interim CEO, previously the COO, looked uncomfortable. "Mr. Wilson," she began, "thank you for coming. The situation you revealed is unprecedented." I remained silent. "The full extent of the fraud appears worse than initially reported," she continued. "The forensic team has identified nearly $2 million in diverted funds. Criminal charges are being prepared." Still, I waited. Robert cleared his throat. "Jake, the board has unanimously decided to create a new executive position, Chief Information Security Officer, with full executive privileges and a reporting structure directly to the board. We would like to offer you this role." I placed my folder on the table. "Inside, you will find my conditions," I said. "They are non-negotiable." The CEO opened it and read quickly. Her eyebrows lifted. "Full audit authority across all departments, independent budget oversight, veto power on financial technology decisions." I nodded once. "This is unusual," she said. "So was stealing $2 million, I replied. "That happened because no one was watching. Now someone will be." The room became silent. "You have until noon," I said while standing. "I have other offers." As I turned to leave, Robert asked, "Did you plan this from the beginning, Jake?" I paused at the door. I did not plan to be fired after 17 years. Everything after that was simply me doing what I have always done, finding system weaknesses and applying the right security measures. At 11:47, they called. They had accepted every condition. 6 months later, I sat in my new corner office reviewing security protocols for the next quarter. The view overlooked the Columbus skyline, a daily reminder of how much had changed. Brian Wilcox had pleaded guilty to several fraud charges. In exchange for cooperation, he would receive a reduced sentence, though still significant. Daniel was fighting the charges, insisting he had no knowledge of the scheme, despite the evidence. Jason Phillips had escaped to Brazil, but was being extradited. The money had been recovered, most of it anyway, enough that the company avoided serious financial damage. My former team now reported to me, though I had promoted Stephen to manage day-to-day operations. The kid had potential. He only needed someone to recognize it. A knock on my door caught my attention. Andrea stood there smiling. "Ready for lunch?" she asked. I nodded and picked up my jacket. As we walked through the IT department, conversations paused briefly, not out of fear but respect. These people knew what happened and knew I could have destroyed the company instead of saving it. In the elevator, Andrea squeezed my hand. "Happy?" I thought about the question. The anger that had driven me during those first days after being fired had disappeared. What remained was not exactly happiness, more like satisfaction and completion. "I am good," I said. Outside, the October sun warmed our faces as we walked toward a nearby restaurant. My phone buzzed with a message from Robertson. "The board approved your security budget increase." A unanimous vote. I smiled slightly. No arguments, no questions, only trust. Andrea noticed my expression. "What is it?" "Nothing," I said, sliding the phone back into my pocket. I was just thinking about bridges. Some collapse under their own weight. Others, once repaired, become stronger than before. This time, I had built it the right way.